Introducing Minor Wisdom Quintet.
1, 2, a skidoo-doo.
Minor Wisdom.
Hey, another summer week. It's so hot outside. It's unbearable at times. But anyway, speaking of hot, it's awkward. I've got Erin Moore on this week. Erin wouldn't mind that joke. She's, not that it's a joke. Now I've just dug myself into a hole. I'm sorry, Erin. You would, of all people, you'd appreciate the humor behind me hitting on you on the podcast. But anyway, hey, Erin, how you doing? What's your sign? So, I've got Erin Moore on the podcast this week. Super excited that she agreed to come on, and I've had a few people say, hey, you've got to have Erin on because she's just a riot. She's very funny. That's a lot to live up to, so I hope you guys kind of agree with those people after you listen to this interview. But Erin was a lot of fun to have on, and I really appreciate it. A little peek behind le curtain, as they say in Spanish. I am actually recording this intro the Wednesday of the week of this episode. So this is before Texas Thespians. Actually, it's Thursday. See, I don't even know my days, but it's Thursday before this episode drops, before the Sunday that it normally drops. And the reason I'm recording it early is because all of my equipment will be used this weekend for the Texas Thespians professional development, which I'm super stoked about. We've got Renee, Crystal, Julio coming in to teach on Saturday, Julia Crone talking to people on Friday, and you can still register for the Fort Worth and Bastrop, which is really the Austin one, but the Fort Worth / Dallas and the Bastrop / Austin locations, you can still register for those if you are so inclined, but they're using my equipment since it's me and Mandy working this stuff, so I could have come on here and said like, oh man, what a great week of PD, and lied to you, and I mean, it could be a great week of PD. If it is a great week of PD, then it's because I put it together. If this weekend just absolutely bombs, then you can send your emails to mandy.tapia@texasthespians.org. But anyway, also something else I wanted to quickly discuss, or maybe not discuss, but just kind of mention, does it feel like, and I've already said this, by the way, if I have, fast forward, but does it feel like a lot of people are either leaving the profession or switching schools this year? It feels to me that I'm constantly seeing people post, hey, I'm at a new school, or hey, I'm leaving education, or something like that on Facebook. Maybe I'm friends with too many Texas theater teachers, but I just feel like this year especially, a lot of people are changing. And now I know that there were a lot of people that talked about before we kind of went into the 2020-2021 school year that they, feel like there's going to be a lot of change. I know a lot of band directors were talking about that, at least the band director friends that I have, about there's going to be a lot of change. But I guess I just don't understand why. I mean, obviously, hypocritically speaking, obviously I'm changing too, but I wasn't necessarily seeking out a different job, a career change, or not a career change, but a school change. But this opportunity for me just came along, and I couldn't pass it up because it's kind of like the best opportunity you could possibly ask for. But a lot of people are changing, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but it's just kind of funny to me that there are so many people going from school to school. And I guess I've got no commentary on it. I just thought it was an interesting observation on my part. So without further ado, I want to get to the interview with Erin Moore. No, dang it, I'm trying to rhyme. Sorry, Erin Moore. Again, this was a fun one. She's quite the character. Very funny, very easy to talk to. I can imagine what her classroom is like, quite filled with a lot of sarcasm and a lot of fun. And there's a reason she's been doing this for 67 years now. So she's been in the classroom, that's right, 67 years. So there's a reason she's been so successful. 66 out of the 67. That first year, that was a doozy. But I hope you guys are having a great week. I hope you guys are staying cool, hydrating, enjoying your summer. And those of you that went to Texas Thespians PD, it was great to see you. It was truly amazing, a blessing, if you will. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this week's guest. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, leave a good 5-star review. Miss Erin Moore.
Well, I know that this normally starts with everybody saying like where they went to college, where they did everything. But I'm going to start with my theater background because it is way more interesting than just a laundry list of places where I've been and things I've done, in my opinion. So if that's okay with you. Oh, I got the thumbs up.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry, thumbs up.
so I'm older probably than most of you. I think I probably could have taught you or your parents. And so being a little bit older, come from a kind of a different world where theater was not something you would ever consider as a job, like unless you were an actor and then you were an actor. So you would definitely not something that somebody who was going to Catholic school, elementary school would want to do. But when I went to Catholic elementary school, we would do a play every year at Christmas time. You do a Christmas pageant. And my life goal was to be in the Christmas pageant with a speaking part instead of a singer. And if you've ever heard me sing, it tells you that whoever was directing those plays had no idea what they were doing because I was always put in a singing thing. And I never got the part because the part always went, and forgive me if any of these people are listening to this, but I'm pretty sure they aren't. It always went to somebody who needed a self-esteem boost. And so because I was, I guess, energetic and happy, I never got the part. And it always went to like the quiet, weird kid. And I was the loud, weird kid. So I never really got that. But then finally, one year we had a talent show. And everybody was like, okay, what do we do for the talent show? And I remember being in Sister Michelle's class. And so she's writing on the board and everybody is saying like, oh, this is my talent. This is my talent. And so, I mean, I probably listed like 10 things like, oh, I have a puppet like a turtle. I can do a show with that. And then it's like, oh, I can do my ballet routine from ballet class, you know, on and on. So finally, sister's like, Erin, why don't you do a skit? So we did a skit. Long story short, I found my happy place. And I was so excited that I finally got to be on stage in the cafegimatorium and have a part. And because, you know, you're writing your own thing, which I've learned writing your own thing is really good. My part was really good. And I got the laughs and it was fun. And that's when I decided then that I was either going to be on Saturday Night Live, which I was not allowed to watch, or I was going to be on stage. So I became a teacher instead because it's kind of the combination of both. You stand up, you try to be humorous, you're kind of on the fly, but at the same time, you're also in front of people. So it's kind of like a good in between for that. And so that worked for me to become a teacher. And then when I went to college, I kept taking theater classes because theater was fun. So I think I've taken acting classes at every college I've ever been to, even though I got my acting credit, you know, the first semester or first year, just because it was so fascinating to me to learn people's stories, to see how stories came together and all that good stuff. So when I finally settled down and said, okay, I'm going to become a teacher, because I really was going to be the next Oprah, but apparently that was not an option because I could really see me sitting there. This is, I know it's not, I know it's
Yeah,
not
no,
video,
it's fine. We'll do some color commentating.
but you can imagine. So sitting there and asking people questions.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I'm generous and kind too, so I can give crap away. I mean, like Oprah would be the best job ever, but I realized that there's only one Oprah. So my parents were like, okay, we've got to at some point decide what you're going to do. So I'm like, okay, I'll be a teacher. Well, what are you going to teach? Well, I've taken a lot of theater classes. I'll teach theater. So that's how I became a theater teacher. It's a little bit different probably, or maybe similar to some people, but it's very, very much in that vein. And I mean, I love creating characters. I was like the weird person. Okay, I don't know why I keep saying I'm weird, but I think because all theater teachers
Yeah,
probably are a little weird.
yeah.
But I was the person who, wherever we went, all of a sudden I'd be with my friends and I'd have a different accent when we'd meet somebody. Or I would just make up the weirdest stuff. Like I would just create this persona because I thought, well, I'm kind of boring, you know, Richmond, Texas, you know, lived in a subdivision, not much excitement there. So I would talk to people and they'd be like, well, you know, how are you doing? It's like, well, you know, I'm great. We just got back from Antarctica and it was a good trip with my family. And my friends are like, you haven't gone anywhere. And I would just go on this long story and just, so then I would meet all these people. And back then you would give them your phone number. Like they wouldn't text you and you didn't just put in their phone or whatever. And so then, you know, a couple of weeks later, some kid would call you long distance, like excited because we, you know, they'd meet somebody who'd been to Antarctica and you're talking to them and they're like, so tell me more about Antarctica. And I'm like, I don't even know what I said the first time. So characters and developing characters is kind of second nature and kind of fun to me. I don't know.
Yeah. Have you created a stronger memory? Like, is your memory brain better because you would create these characters and have to try to work through the lie, if you will.
I think so, because then you see people and you're like, "Oh, yeah, you're 1600 SAT. Okay, yeah, got you."
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was just like just random stuff. Whatever I was thinking about is kind of like what would come out. So yeah, and then you see people, and that's how like you would connect them. And I mean, it's not like these people are people I was going to know for the rest of my life.
right,
They're people you run into at the mall, or we'd go to thespians, in
right.
Nebraska. Actually, it was in Muncie back then in Indiana. And so every time you meet somebody different, you'd give them like a different name and stuff. And so by the end of the week, you're like, okay, I don't even know who I am. And my
So
friends would be like, "God, Erin,
you're
stop
married,
it."
right?
Yes.
So
He
like
knows
what?
I'm only one person to him.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna ask like what type of stories has he heard?
But sometimes he'll laugh because he'll be like, "Really?"
Is he
But
ever
no, like I
witness?
met him when I
Is
was in high school. Like he knows the real me.
right?
There's nothing.
Is he ever witness to your follies?
He was back before we started dating when we were just friends, and he would just be like, "This girl's kind of fun, it's kind of weird." And I didn't do it every single time,
Yeah,
everywhere I went,
sure.
but you
Yeah,
just never knew when I was gonna like just have fun and just
yeah,
play.
yeah. I bet you were great at parties.
Well, I
That's
don't drink, so
yeah.
everybody has to have
Well,
something to entertain people
yeah,
with.
you gotta be able to. Well, you gotta entertain yourself too sometimes when you're at
Exactly. Well,
those.
and you can't really tell the difference between drunk people and me, so it's okay,
Oh, good. Oh, good. Well, that's
because I
good.
usually don't remember what I said or who I said it
Yeah,
to.
I mean, I guess your liver is different than theirs. That would be one big difference. Yeah,
Yes, I
yeah,
hope so.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. Let's fingers crossed. What would your like name have been if you were Oprah? If you were like the other Oprah, would you have gone just by Aaron? Would you? I mean,
Desiree Dubois,
okay, okay. So you've thought
because
about
it sounds
this.
fancy.
I was hoping there'd be kind of a longer pause for you to think about it, but nope, you've thought about it. So
That's
that's
my fancy throw out name.
what does that
I don't
come
know.
from?
It's like, Regina Phalange,
Yeah.
when she says that, it's just like the name that I would always use, Desiree Dubois.
Okay, so it's not like one of those like the first pet and first street you lived on kind of thing.
No, because, we had a dog named Dog,
Oh, I
so
had a
which is not a
bunny.
good name, but the middle name would be Chantilly, which I think really has a
Oh,
little something
yeah,
to
I
it.
had a bunny named Miss Bunny, so I get it. R.I.P. Miss Bunny, but yeah, really miss her. She was a good bunny. What type of jokes do you like tell in your classroom? I mean, do they just kind of come out, or do you like, for me sometimes I'll think, all right, I've got this, I hope I get set up for this
Yeah.
particular one liner or this particular story or something, or does it just kind of regurgitate, or both?
It just comes out. You just
Yeah,
never know when it's gonna come out. Once in a while, I'll try to build something up, but, kids are unpredictable. You
yeah,
can never count on them to give you what you need for that one liner. Although, I think back in the day of D's nuts, I had a really good
right.
one
Oh
because
yeah,
my son was in my class and he's like, "Mom, don't ever do that again."
yeah. Oh, you're someone's. Well, it's like the Chuck Norris jokes too. I mean, that was a huge thing when I first started teaching. The Chuck Norris jokes were like, I had a whole shirt of Chuck Norris jokes. So I get that too. What
I started teaching with your mama jokes.
oh, I was like with my mom. Yeah, that would have
Yeah,
been, yeah, that in the 70s. That's, I mean,
yeah.
you
Well,
don't look,
she's
yeah.
my teacher.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So you started teaching with your mama jokes. That's great.
Yeah.
You should just say to kids, I started teaching with your mama. But
Well, because I did some of them.
yeah,
I've
that's
been here
true.
20 years. I've been teaching their mamas.
Have you taught any level other than high school?
No,
Okay.
I did student teaching in junior high. Bless you, whoever teaches junior
Yeah,
high, because they're weird. They're like
different.
me. They're like making stuff up all the time.
Right.
And then, but I am going to be teaching dual credit, so
Okay.
it's kind of halfway, like not teaching high school,
Well,
but
but it's a
you're
level
still
up.
going to be my college kids. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's going to be the high school kids, college level class.
Could you see yourself teaching other levels, like lower levels, as with your kind of sarcastic personality?
No, I would be
Yeah.
fired.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's my mentality too. Is like I don't think this little. I think I'm going to hurt this 9 year old's feelings. I don't think like, and I don't mean any ill will, but the sarcasm just doesn't read as well.
Well, exactly, and, like, we do a kitty camp. Next week, we'll have the ankle biters come,
Yeah.
and, like, they cry. They're weird. They're just they're I don't
Yeah.
I'm nurturing and I'm loving and I'm caring, but it's just weird to me.
Do you,
Like I don't know how people teach junior high and how they teach those younger ones.
well, yeah, I
Because
mean,
I want to either hug them or they smell and I want to walk away. Like there's no in between.
yeah, my wife's been teaching middle school for a while, and she just got a job where she only teaches sixth and seventh, and she's excited because she doesn't want the eighth graders because she said they're just a whole different breed, and which I, sure, I
Yeah,
guess
you
I
do.
don't, yeah, I don't, yeah, I get big fish, small pond. I don't know, but yeah, how many kids do you have? You have one son.
I just have one. I have a
How
son.
when did he realize mom is kidding?
Oh, I think early
Okay,
on,
okay,
because my whole family, we tell jokes and we
yeah.
do. I mean, okay, like I've said that I make up these things. That was when I was younger.
Oh,
Like now I'm an
I don't
adult.
mean, but you still make jokes. Like I'm not talking about
Yeah,
different personalities. I'm talking about
yeah.
just sarcasm, different jokes. No, I'm the
Oh,
same way
he
with
from
my
the
kids.
get-go. I come
Okay.
by it honestly. My dad tells the worst, best dad jokes ever. My
Yeah,
husband's very sarcastic, so he's
yeah,
just used to it.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, because for my younger one, it's taken a little longer for her to understand Daddy's kidding. Um, but my oldest one, like that. I mean, came out of the womb and was like, my dad's being a little sarcastic, and I get it. That's pretty funny. So,
Right.
what do you like to direct comedies?
Yes, I do. Well, I like to direct everything
Okay.
except for murder mysteries.
Why?
Um,
Why not? What horrible experience did you have with?
I shouldn't say murder mysteries. What's it called where you throw popcorn? I don't like popcorn
Oh,
throwing.
yeah. There's a Pocket Sandwich Theater up in Dallas where yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the style, but
There's a
off the top of
name
my head,
for
yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah,
Obviously, I don't teach that in my theater history class.
yeah, yeah,
Boo
yeah,
hiss.
yeah. Right.
I'm not a big fan of that, but I like physical comedy. I'm very visual. I'm not auditory at all. I work
Okay.
really hard on voices. I have to sit there after we do the physicality. I have to close my eyes and listen to them to actually because I'm too busy watching instead of
Right.
listening.
Right.
And then if I don't fall asleep while they're doing their lines with my eyes closed, then I know they're doing them well
Why don't you just turn around?
because I'm sitting in a chair.
Well, I mean, you can control that. Yeah. I feel like, but whatever. I don't know how your theater's set up, so I mean, it's
They're one of those fancy theaters with revolving seats.
well. I mean, you
Where
could
do you
stand up
live?
and turn
Oh.
around, or you could. I mean, I don't know if you've ever put a table in your theater or something like that, but because I'm sitting down,
Well, in
that's
Antarctica, the seats swivel, but
oh, right, right, right. It's very
exactly.
famous,
No,
but
I
the
never thought about turning around. I just because I'm already thinking, and so I'll start watching, then I'll close my eyes. I'm like, okay, let me see how this is playing out. Let me listen to it and
yeah.
see if it sounds like it looks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. It makes total sense. But you could like look up at your technicians in the booth or something like that, and see what
Well,
they're
then I'd be looking at them and I'd be, making faces or
right.
doing a puppet show over
Yeah.
the seats.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So never mind. Forget my suggestion. That's good.
I'll try it and let you know.
What
I'll
what's
text
the
you. I'll say
what's
like,
what's the
work.
yeah,
Don't work.
yeah, reach out to me and say this was a horrible idea. I don't understand how you're doing theater. What's the hardest show you ever directed? Do you remember so far?
Ooh, hard as in.
I don't know, most challenging maybe as a director or
I know this sounds very ridiculous to say, but it's the show that I just did, Stoneface,
okay.
because I had to take how it was written, which is a great. It's okay. It's the story of Buster Keaton and his rise and fall, and you know how all those 1920s actors just went through like
Yeah.
crazy because it was like a whole bunch of crazy GT kids let loose in the prairie and
Yeah.
let's create.
Yeah.
Um, so the way the script is written, there's film excerpts in the script. So there's supposed to be a giant screen on stage. And so at one point, the actor playing Buster Keaton is over here and he's acting. Then he takes a big step and he goes behind the screen and you
It's
see
the
him
film.
stepping into this film.
Wow.
And so then you watch a film segment. So I had to, as a director, I tried to figure out ways to create that film segment without using a film because we can't
Right.
for UIL. And
Hmm.
so it was great material and great story and great things happening, but it just took a lot of creativity. And those are the shows that I love the most
Right.
because you stay up all night, you think about it, you're just going to sleep. but then it's constantly recreating and changing and moving. Noise is Off is my favorite show ever. But it's the same almost every time
Right.
because you have to be at this door for this to work. You have to be falling down the stairs for them to pick up the sardines.
Right.
It's a little different.
So that was your one act play. Why'd you choose that for the one act play then? Just because it would challenge you?
Because I like the story, I like the characters, and I just had the kids for it, and it's hard, when
Yeah.
you're trying to find something that fits your kiddos, you can look at a million shows, and I felt like there's a lot of pressure this year to, I didn't really care about like, social distancing or COVID or that kind of stuff, but I really felt like there was a little bit of political pressure to make the best choices for all students.
Right.
And so that took me aback because in trying to give something to every student, I I read more plays than I usually read,
Yeah.
and I felt like I was reading more plays just for specific students in mind instead of something that could go any direction. And I prefer a play that can go any direction, and that's what I feel about this particular show is that Buster Keaton can be. I have, you try to glorify your seniors a little bit. And so I have like three senior boys. I'm like, well, any of the three could play Buster Keaton. Any of the three could play young Buster Keaton. Any of the three could play Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
So it felt like it was a good choice.
How'd you end up? My apologies for not seeing your show. I didn't get
Oh,
invited, but how would you? As she sips from her glass, there's the play by play.
on video.
So so I know. Well, that's why I have to narrate. But how did
I
you?
have a video
How,
of the show.
how did you end up solving the problem? How did you end up getting? Because you're not. Is the normal thing in that show to show the actual movie clip, or is the
Yeah.
normal? Okay,
Yeah.
so what did you end up doing?
So, well, for some of them, we kind of just recreated the movie clip live.
Okay,
And so for that, okay, so if it was as if you're the audience member and you're watching a movie clip, then we ran the music from back of house with like the
yeah,
the
the
movie
reel
sound.
spinning. Yeah.
Would you like me to do that again? Because I
Yeah,
thought it was really good.
yeah.
With the clicking sound. And then we'd have front of stage lights that would flicker a little bit. So it would have the effect
Gotcha.
of watching an old movie. And the kids sped it up like 1.5 to look faster, to look like it was a movie.
Yeah,
And then it would stop and switch to music coming from back of stage and lighting and physicality would change and everything. So that you would know
okay,
the difference. So we recreated that. And then some of it was a lot of creative movement in general,
right.
which I love. It's just so much fun to
Did you,
do.
did you happen to just did you happen to send in to Paula asking permission to show the actual film? Please say you
Yes.
did. Yes. Did you really?
Yes. I
Oh my
asked
God.
for permission to create our own version
Oh, so
because
not
you can't
okay.
show.
I know, but I thought maybe, there was one year that I got away with putting 11 lights on stage, because of the way I worded the request. And
Well, I think I started to, and I looked at it, and the more I thought about it, the more I did not want to show with a giant screen in the middle.
right.
And
Okay.
even though that is inherent, and we did do projections, but we projected like title cards from old movies,
Hmm.
and we just did on the back wall of the theater.
Okay.
Of the stage. So we opened all the curtains up, so it was like a movie lot, and
That's fun.
then it would just be projected on the back wall. It's kind of
Okay.
cool.
All right.
Except
Well,
for when we got to a site and we had to move all the UIL pieces, take all the signs down, and everything during our 7 minutes.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's on you again. That's you chose that. You chose that life.
We took pictures and we put it back. It was great.
So
People were like, "This
where
is what you're doing." Guess we're using every. So on your form, you're like, "Do I use it? Am I using every piece or am I not using every piece?"
where did you go to school? You never said that. High
Uh,
school.
High school,
Yeah.
Lamar Consolidated.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So you're like born and raised Richmond area.
Yes.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. As,
I went to Lamar Consolidated. I went to SFA for a year. I went to Wharton Junior College under Kathy Hooper for a year. And then I finished at the University of Houston.
okay.
Go Cougs.
When were you at UH? Yeah, go Cougs. Yeah, come on, get it. Yeah. Now you're just flashing gang symbols.
These are silly
Were
game
you
things.
at UH late 90s?
Early 90s.
Early 90s? Oh, you're
When I went
welcome.
to
You're
U of
welcome.
H,
Yeah.
and by then I knew I was going to be a theater teacher
Yeah.
because Kathy Hoover like helped push that because
Yeah.
she's just
She's
so
okay.
phenomenal.
Yeah, sure.
I like her. She'll do. Um, and so I went to U of H and I'm like, okay, I'm going to major in theater. And so I go and talk to, is it Cecil Pickett, I guess? No, Sidney Berger
Yeah,
at the time.
yeah, Dr.
And he's
Berger.
like, well, then you have to go over to education.
Yeah,
So I went over to education and I'm like, hey, I'm going to major in theater, be a teacher. And they're like, oh,
you gotta
what's
go.
your minor going to be? And it's like speech. Okay, go over there.
Yeah,
Like, and when, so it finally boiled down to they hadn't had a theater ed major in like 9 years, but they had it in the book still.
right,
So it was kind of cool because I got to create my own program, but it's kind of bad because I created my own program. So I didn't take anything I didn't
right. Yeah, and
like lighting,
oh, yeah.
sound.
So you don't like lighting?
I love lighting. I love
Oh,
the way it looks.
no, it's on record
I'm
now.
not
Yeah.
wired. Get it wired. I am not wired that way.
Yeah,
So that's how, and that's probably like one of the great benefits of being friends with Tim Monroe
yeah,
is that I'm not wired that way. And so I'll call him and I'll say, okay, this is what I want to do.
right.
And he'll say, well, the thing is, you've got to do this.
Yeah,
Or do you have this? And I'm like, no, I don't have that.
yeah,
And so,
and then it gets more confusing. Yeah, when he starts using all that language that he's got in his brain. Yeah, and it
yeah,
just
like words like Fresnel
yeah,
and
right.
LED. And I'm just like, I don't understand.
Who knows that stuff? Um,
Gel, yeah, I know what gels are. We
yeah,
don't use them anymore because we
yeah.
have LED lighting because
Well,
a tornado landed on our school.
a to- okay, there's a story as she takes
They're called a
another sip
microburst.
from a
Okay,
torn.
so this is, so picture it, Sealy,
Yeah,
2017,
yeah,
19, I don't know what year it was. And so we're having senior awards night at the end of the year in the auditorium. So, like, I don't know, 500 people in the auditorium. And a tornado comes through town, but it's called a microburst. And I mean, I could probably bore you with the details, but I don't know them. And it's basically when a tornado lands, it stops. And so it stopped on top of our auditorium
wow,
for I don't know how long. I mean, those of us in there, it was like 6 hours. It
right,
might have been 2 minutes. But there's actually pictures, on the school cameras of like one lady was trying to get in, and as she was like her legs are flying up, and
wow,
she can't get the door open. And so then it's like 5 people pushing the door to pull her in and get her in and stuff. So it was kind of, and no one was hurt. A lot of people lost their homes,
okay,
but there was no loss of life, which is really good
yeah,
because everybody, it was like 6:55, so everybody was about 10 minutes away from it being a disaster because our event started at 7, so people were already in the auditorium. The Little League Park, which is nearby us, their alarms went off and stuff, so they kicked everybody out at like 6:40. So everybody was in safety at the time,
right,
which is pretty crazy.
wow, and
So it tore off the strip. You know how your building is tall and then it's, where the theater is, that's how we
yeah,
always know. And then there's the flat.
yeah,
So it tore this strip connecting.
okay,
And so we're in the auditorium and there's kids on stage and they're looking up at the catwalk and water just starts coming down. And then my room's connected to it. And so we open this closet in my room and the water comes at you like a waterfall. Like it was the craziest thing.
wow,
And so everybody's in there and they're pulling, because of course that's where we store, our extra lighting equipment and
right.
sound stuff. And so everybody's pulling it out and things like that. So long story short, we had a microburst.
So what ended up resulting from that? Like a new theater, or I mean, like what ended up happening?
Roof repairs, which our roof had leaked already, so that
Yeah,
was good. It still leaks sometimes, but I think almost all auditoriums have
yeah,
leaks.
yeah. You got to have one. Yeah,
And I think it's from the flashing or what have you.
yeah,
But our financial gain from it was we got new lighting and we got LED lighting on our catwalk, which is really
okay.
nice.
Yeah. By the way, if you don't know what flashing is, people listening, it is not when you lift your shirt up.
You got excited for a second, didn't you? You saw my arms move and you were a little
Well,
scared.
I just recently, I mean, I knew what flashing was before, but we, we're buying a house up in the Tomball area and the roof had to be replaced. Luckily, we didn't have to pay for it, but the roof had to be replaced. And one of the big things was the flashing. And I was like, the flashing? Oh, yeah, right. That kind of. So I'm very, it's very fresh on my mind, the flashing. So, yes. But when we're speaking of theater, sometimes it's a different definition. So
So
that's
when you're
good.
speaking to Erin Moore, sometimes it's a
Yeah,
little different too.
right,
So I
right.
get that.
So what is the best experience you've had with one act play? Being a Texas theater teacher.
Um,
Everybody has to flex a little bit. You gotta like my favorite shirt that I really want to I still want to make it. It says zone or bust, and Now that I'm going into the private school sector, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So if you want to print it, if your kids will understand it and take the joke, then by all means you can have it. But it is trademarked, so it's a lot of money for me. So anyway, continue.
We don't have
What-
zone out here, so it'd probably have to be by district.
That's even more. That's even more reason why it would work. We've
It would
already
be like zone. It
we've
was
already
bad.
advanced. Yeah, yeah.
So it happens. Um, Shoot, I don't know. I think that like there's every year, every kid I look at that's gone through our program,
Yeah,
is a story and is an adventure and is something like moments. Like I don't know. I live for those moments when you're just sitting there and you're in the auditorium, the kids are around, and that moment where it just feels like happiness.
right.
And sometimes something's going on stage. Sometimes you're taking a drink break. Sometimes it's in the middle of the worst, episode of someone's meltdown or something, and you just kind of laugh afterwards. It's those moments. And so I think that putting a best and worst on it is terrible because every moment,
Yeah,
every show has moments that
yeah.
are just so incredible. And sometimes you'll forget about them, and then I'll see that the kid or somebody will be going and looking through costumes, and they'll bring a costume down, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember when Susie wore that, and
Yeah,
this happened. So
yeah,
I don't know, like I can't say there's a best. It's
yeah.
just
That's okay.
everything's good.
You're allowed to not answer the question. It's fine.
It was
What
so long.
what about your uh I've asked this before, and I try to always, every time I ask it, I'm wondering how can I make this eloquent, and it never comes out eloquent. But is there a student, you don't have to name names, but is there a student who surprised you once they left your department in what they ended up doing outside of school, outside of high school? Like you thought, like I've got a couple kids where I didn't I admittingly I thought, man, they're gonna have a tough time outside of school, and then they end up just shooting up. I've got one in particular I can think of that she's I say CEO, but she runs her own company and it's successful and all this kind of stuff that she created, and I would have never ever in a million years thought that that's what this student would be doing. So do you have an example of that from your extensive background in education?
Um, no.
Okay, that's okay. You
No,
think
like
highly of your students. That's
I don't
okay.
know because I think of what we do as training kids to run the world.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if you can run a show, if you can run a talent show, if you can run a theater kids camp, then you can do anything.
right.
So, I mean, I have kids that surprise me right now. One of my former students who was super, super quiet and was this good artist and got an art degree. So I convinced her to come back and teach art, and now she's working with us. So it's like, it surprises me when I see her teaching because she was always
She
so
was just
quiet.
so
So it's little things like that.
yeah. Okay.
Like I have one of my students is I don't know, he does sports like ESPN sports commentating and stuff. And I mean, he was a great kid, so I expected him to do that. I don't know. I guess I just always expect my kids to grow and to keep growing. So it doesn't surprise me. It makes me proud and it makes me happy to see.
Yeah.
I think what I enjoy more is seeing them be happy.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I noticed. Like I will see somebody and I'm like, man, he's selling real estate now. He really loves it. I can see him doing that. What a great career choice. So it's more that than like them rising above what I expected.
Okay. I set my standards really low. That way, that way I get very surprised, and I'm just so excited to see them. Nothing against burger flippers at McDonald's, but if my standard is really super low, then if you're a burger flipper at McDonald's, you've succeeded, in my opinion. So,
Well,
you
that's
know,
burger flippers are very important in my life. So
yeah,
I get that.
yeah. Where's the best burger? What's the best burger you've ever had?
Best burger
I
I've
have an
ever had. There's
answer.
this place out
I
here
know the right
called
answer, by the way.
what?
I'm not go. I'm not gonna tell you yet. I don't want to jade your opinion.
Are you talking about like a fancy
I
burger?
don't
Like I
know.
don't eat fancy burgers.
Yeah, I don't
The
eat.
most
I'm not a big
expensive
fan.
burger I ever had was in Africa at $65 for a burger.
Is that real, Aaron, or is that
Yes, that's
okay,
real.
okay,
Like
okay.
I have been to Africa. Yes.
I don't know. The best burger I've ever had was in Antarctica.
No, that's
37
polar
years
bear
ago.
meat. You
Yeah.
don't eat that because they're endangered. But it's so weird because like my neighbors in Antarctica were really into that. And so, and here I am trying to be a conservationist, but like, you want
Yeah.
to be nice to the neighbors. It's just
Right.
really awkward. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Polar bear is
Um,
very chewy. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
but I don't know, like I like to go to a dive and
Yeah.
get a burger with all kind of stuff piled on top that I'm not expecting. And then I tell them, well, I don't want that because I don't expect it. But pretty much any burger that does not have onions or mayonnaise, I'm a fan of.
Good. Have you ever had a tornado burger?
No, I haven't. What's a tornado
I don't
burger?
mean to bring up old memories, and that's kind of topical, I guess, because we just talked about a tornado 5 minutes ago. But no, Tornado Burger is not too far from where you grew up, but it's like Murphy Road and 90-ish. So if you can remember where that is, but there was a
I used to
Luby's,
work out there.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's Tornado Burger. It is you got to get the spicy double if you like a little bit of heat. It's not very hot, but
So
uh,
that's the name of the joint. It's the tornado burger
Tornado
joint.
Burger, yeah, you got to try it. You
Check
have
it
to,
out.
yeah, the fries are worth it too. So anyway, but again, it's not a, it doesn't have the gold leaf on it or anything like that. It's sloppy, but it's delicious. So I might go get one after this. But that's
Go
good
meet
to.
Blake Weir up there. Go get you one.
What's that?
It's down the road from Blake Weir. Isn't he
Oh,
down there?
yes, yes, it is down
Stafford?
the road. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is right down the road from him. So, I don't understand how he doesn't eat there every day, but good for him. It's fine. He's a
That's
good.
why he's slim.
He's a yeah. That's
I don't
why.
think I've ever seen him eat.
I don't. Well, he's a redhead, so I don't know if they have to eat. So,
I hope he's listening to this.
but anyway,
I'll be like, "Hey, Blake, I talked about you." And he's like, "Oh, did you talk about how incredible and blah, blah, blah?" Like, yes.
yeah, sure, sure. Just listen, buddy. Just
Listen at 3.22.
yeah, yeah.
Women.
What are you drinking right now?
I am drinking Crystal Light strawberry.
You know what you're supposed to call that, right? Like if you're a classy broad, you call it Cristal Light. Yeah,
Crystal Light.
yeah.
Crystal Light out of a Tiger Stage Company.
There you go.
Uh,
That's a nice little cup.
thank you.
Yeah.
This is a graduate that I'm proud of because she has this business that makes these.
Like what is that? The cricket type thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is I don't know, it's a metallic tumbler, but let me tell you what this girl, okay, so she was a race car driver
What?
and
Okay.
now her family owns this, it's called Bumberas. I went,
Yeah.
maybe they'll give me $5
Shout
for
out.
saying
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
But it's a car shop and they do sports cars and stuff like that. So I guess it's just natural that she would also make these fancy metallic tumblers.
Which happen to not fit in the cup holders inside those cars. Those
I don't think they have cup holders in those cars.
Well, see, here's the thing with you, Aaron. I'm not going to lie. You started this conversation with, I grew up lying to people. and now, so I feel like every time you tell a truthful story, you have to hold up your right hand or, or
Okay, I don't know my right from my left. Okay.
okay, there. The one you have
Yeah.
your ring on is your left. Well, oh, you have a ring on both. Oh man,
Yes.
you are classy,
I'm
Cristal.
fancy.
Yeah.
I'm fancy.
What does your husband do?
He works for Chevron.
Okay.
When Chevron finds, this is in a nutshell, when Chevron finds a bunch of oil, they have to build a city. So that's what he does. He builds a city. So right now he's working in Kazakhstan off the Caspian Sea.
Wait, when they
For real.
when they find, oh, I see what you're saying, when they're mining, or when they're, what is it called, well, not fracking, that's but when they're searching for
They're
oil.
making oil. They
Yeah.
make it. I don't know.
But when they find it, they literally have to set up camp, like
Yes.
oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay,
So his camp is called not Caspi's, Tengiz. That's where he is right now.
that's crazy. Yeah, that's so is he an engineer?
He is his degrees are in architecture and construction management.
Okay,
And then he is LEED certified, which means that he can make it green.
oh, cool.
So he
Okay,
was one of the first people to do that back when that happened, right when he was finishing architecture school.
okay.
And so they're like, hey, you should get this LEED certification. So he went to Oregon and got LEED certified.
Of course it was an organ.
Of course it was. Of course it
Yeah.
was. But you know what? It was before I knew about roll-off farms. Otherwise, I'd have gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the roll-offs were
Yeah.
alive then. So
That's a cool job. I mean,
it is. It's really good. And so he's one of those people who's here a month and then he goes a month
Right.
and then he's back and forth. But he was home for a year
Okay.
and
Because of
with
COVID.
the COVID
Yeah.
shutdowns, traveling
Was
shutdowns.
that a weird adjustment?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's a good situation for us because when he's home, like my focus is really on home and getting home and doing things. But when he's gone, then I can be the workaholic that
Right.
I am without feeling guilty.
Right.
So, but when it was nice to have him home. It really
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. I know when I was in my touring days, when I would come home, it like ruined the what was happening at the house. Like because I had my own set of living rules, and
Right.
then my wife is like, "No, you. This is not how it works in our house. Can you
Yeah, the
leave?"
dynamic changes a little
Yeah.
bit. But yeah,
Yes.
it's worked really it works really well for us. So
Yeah.
that was good. And my son, he was in college, his second year of college, so he was home. So we were all home, which was really good.
That's good. What has your husband ever helped construct scenery?
Yes.
And does that become a problem because he wants to build things to like last forever and you're
No,
like,
because he understands.
okay,
He
okay,
knows what he's dealing with.
okay,
And so if I get stuck with something, he'll come up and look at it. But he's very much like, that's your world, this is my world. Like
right,
he doesn't infringe and he doesn't think that he has to do stuff.
right,
So sometimes I'm like, can you please come look at it?
right.
Please, please, please. And then he's like, okay, I'll come look.
One, yeah,
Um, I've had parents that have been more adamant about the structure than my
I
husband.
got you. Yeah, yeah, because they're not as well. You said you and your husband have known each other since high school, right?
Yes.
So he's kind of known you're in this theatrical world. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. He knew who he was getting,
Yeah,
just saying.
the one of the most difficult things I've ever had to strike were bunk beds built for Annie, the show, not for like some random girl, but and they were built by an architect, and he built. They were great bunk beds, great bunk
They're
beds,
beautiful, they're gonna last
not for
forever.
theater. Yeah, they were just very heavy. You know, they could tap dance on them if they wanted to, and they wouldn't go anywhere. But we didn't need to keep them, and so they were very difficult to strike. Yeah, I just remember that very
I
well.
have the parents that like to help, and that's great. One time I was doing noises off the first time I did it at Waller High School, and which is near where you're gonna live, near
Yeah,
Tomball.
yeah.
And the so we took a break and we came back and there was a dad helping. He's like, "Hey, I fixed your problem." I said, "What problem?" And he said, "Well, you know how like it didn't all connect everywhere." And he took a nail gun, not a brad nailer, but a nail gun, and he nailed it all together so it wouldn't come apart, so we couldn't turn it
So
around
yes, that's
at dress
great.
rehearsal.
Yeah, that's great.
So did you know you can do that show without turning the set around? Just so you know.
Did you end up fixing it or did you just not?
No, it was with a nail gun.
Yeah, so
Like
yeah,
it wasn't screwed in. It was like paching,
yeah,
paching, paching, paching. He's like, it's not gonna move.
yeah.
Like,
You're like, that's great. I
what's
hope
not? Thank you, sir.
that's yeah, that's one of those moments you just have to kind of uh-oh, well. I
He's like, you know
appreciate
what
your
work
help.
we did on Act Two? Don't worry about it.
Yeah, right.
The show
Exactly.
still flies with Act One, a little bit of Act Two lines, and Act Three, it flies.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, great show without Act Two. Makes total sense. So, well,
I
that's
actually
good.
did for one act play without all of Act Two. So
Did you really?
yeah, I went to alternate to state.
See, I feel like you would be one of these people that would go along with my idea of doing, like, I've always talked to Bobby Ramirez about doing something where I do act one of a show, you do act two of a show, of the same show, and then when we're competing, I don't know the order, so maybe your show goes up first and people are really confused. I don't know, maybe it works out, but I've always wanted to just like do that because there's no rule that says you can't do that as long as it's 40 minutes or less. You know, there's I don't know. It'd just be kind of interesting and fun just to see how that would end up working out.
I thought you were saying like a progressive theater. So like
No,
come to my school and we'll do act one, then we'll drive over to your school for act
I'm
two, then
talking
we'll drive
about
over here for a different act.
I'm talking about one act play. Like I'm talking about competition, UIL at
That'd be
zone or
hilarious.
district. You know, I do the first act of Noises Off, you do the second act, and then another school does the third act kind of thing. And we just again, you don't know the order when you commit to this. Maybe you do. But anyway, it's just an idea I'm throwing out there. Again, going to private school, I don't have to
Where are you
necessarily.
going? Which school? Concordia out
The
there?
John Cooper School.
John Cooper, the John
Yeah.
Cooper
Yeah,
School.
well, yeah, I don't know if that's how everybody
No
introduces.
Woodlands.
Yeah, I don't. It's more John Cooper school. Yeah. It's
John Cooper
yeah.
School.
Yeah. It's not.
Um,
Yeah.
I had a friend that taught at the Woodlands ages ago. Well, Carlin Gilseth, don't
Yeah.
you know
I know
Carlin?
Carlin. Yeah.
And one time I was at some workshop he was doing in Huntsville, and he said the weird thing about the Woodlands is nobody in the Woodlands is from Texas.
Right.
Now this was 25 years ago, so probably by now they've lived here long enough and had their
I,
kids, so the kids are from there.
Yeah, I mean it's still yeah, the parents, the adults are not it's not all that they're not from Texas, they're just not from Houston, like they're just not from this area. So there are
Mhm.
quite a few Dallasites, so the which I have found to be very true. But yeah, there are a lot of people there that are not originally from Texas. They're children of the first generation. So
Katie
yeah.
is like that too.
Yes, Katie
So
is very much like
because
that.
people will be like, oh, but you're from there. I'm like, well, I'm not from here. I'm from Fort Bend County, though.
Yeah.
Right down the road. And they're like, oh,
Well, old Katie is all Texas.
no. Well, but it's also 5 square miles. I mean, it's
Yes,
not
right,
there.
right. My living room is bigger than old Katie, but they are all 100%. They were here during like the American Revolution, probably. So
They grew rice. They
yes,
know.
yes,
They know you don't put subdivisions in a rice field.
right, right, right.
That's how you know people are new. If they live in a subdivision that used to be a rice field, you're like, dude, you're gonna flood.
Yeah,
It's gonna flood.
right. Good luck. Yes, yeah, exactly. That's Meyerland right now. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So going back to that was good. That was a good little. That was good banter. I
Was it
want.
banter?
What's that?
That was good. Well, my grandpa was a farmer, so in Fort Bend County. So every like Greatwood's a big subdivision.
Yeah,
He's like, why
right,
they build on the river over there? Everybody knows it floods.
right.
It floods,
What did he farm?
Um, cotton,
Okay.
lots of cotton, corn, maize,
See, I
and
don't know
he's a
what grows
rancher.
here.
He's a rancher too.
Okay. Yeah, I've
I'll
never
say carbs.
carbs, steak and potatoes.
Yes, baked potatoes, corn.
Right.
What
Okay.
more did you ask? And cotton. So
Yeah, that's so Texas. Uh,
my
okay.
favorite.
So I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know your husband's not there. I know
Woo-hoo, free
you don't
time.
have, yeah, you don't have anything keeping you busy, but I do. I'm super busy. I've got some PlayStation games I need to play, but I want to ask a couple more questions
Okay.
regarding your education and stuff. When you graduated college, you went straight into teaching?
Yes, I did.
Were you, how was your first year teaching compared to what you thought it might be? Like were you just, at what point did you think I made a big mistake, or I'm so overwhelmed, or um, what in the hell did I get myself into? Dr. Berger was right. I should have stayed in theater.
Well, first of all, I'm not that person. So, but I can remember like probably one of the first day of school, like the first week of school, a kid threw up in my room, and I'm like, "What the hell? I'm teaching high school. Why are you throwing up?"
Yeah,
So that was probably the first time when I was like, "Oh, this isn't gonna be as easy as I thought it was."
yeah,
And it was a cool existence because back then you're in a small town. I was in Waller, Texas, and there was so much freedom and so much like, "Hey, we're gonna sit around, we're gonna talk about this, or we're gonna do this," and I don't know, it was a lot of coolness. Now I didn't realize the amount of hours I was gonna teach because in smaller schools, I don't know if you ever taught in a smaller school, but the way the world works is after school is athletics, and then the arts come after that.
right,
So our rehearsal time was 7 to 9 every night. So I'd leave the house in the morning and get to school, and then I would have to stay there because I lived almost an hour away
oh wow,
and not getting home till 9 at night. And then I was also coaching speech and debate back then because that's what we did. And then on weekends, you would get home from a tournament at like on Friday night at 10:30 or 11 o'clock, and then you have to leave at 5 the next morning and then get home that night at midnight. So it's crazy.
yeah.
The amount of time was, I think, the biggest shocker for me.
And so based on the timeline, so you had a little baby at home pretty early in
Yeah.
well, and when you started teaching, you just
I've
said
been
he
teaching 28 years, and my
oh
son is
okay.
19.
Why did I think you said 20 earlier?
10
Okay.
years in Sealy.
Oh, okay, 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 okay. So when you started at Sealy,
Mhm.
that's when baby uh kind of started rearing its ugly head. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Well, but we had a playpen in the rehearsal, and so I
Is
pick him up from daycare because I mean, there's time, like I still have to work around athletics during the
yeah.
fall.
Yeah.
And so I would pick him up from daycare and then he would come to school. And so he had a playpen, he had toys.
Yeah.
I think that's why he has such good comic timing,
Right.
because he grew up around that and around teenagers. And I mean, he was 8 years old and dropping, that's what she said, like,
Yeah.
get in the back seat. Well, that's what she said.
Yeah.
Okay, stop.
That's
You know?
a good kid.
Learn how to play poker, all these things that he, from the crew kids, all things that they learn. But yeah.
So then what would you tell somebody going into their first year now? So, education has kind of changed a little bit. And I just talked to somebody not too long ago that was like, yeah, I just finished my second year of teaching. So they haven't had like a real year yet because last year or 2 years ago, they'd shut down late in the year. And then this past year, we really just didn't have an authentic year. What would you tell somebody that's going kind of in their first year now, getting ready to take that dive? For instance, Tim Monroe's son, Nathan Nate is about to jump in first year. Uh, if he was sitting right in front of you, even though he's smarter than both of us combined,
Exactly.
what would you tell a kid like that right now?
Well, I'd look up because he's tall. And I would
Yeah,
say, well, Nathan, luckily he grew up with the background of
educated.
theater teaching is a job,
Yeah.
and it's your career, and it's, I mean, not as a job, it is a career.
Okay,
And I
he's a
think
bad
so
example.
many
Don't
times
use
people
the.
come in now and they think it's a job, so they're like, okay, well, I'll be done at 3, I'll be done at 4.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean I don't have weekends off? I think if I was talking to a new teacher, I would definitely tell them to prepare yourself, but you are the workaround.
Yeah.
You have to work around everybody else. They're not going to work around you as long as you're in Texas. And I don't know many schools that do that. Now I know if when you're at a bigger school, it's totally different. It's a totally different animal. But if you're a 4A or under, you're going to, people are, you have to be prepared to do the time.
Yeah.
But not to make that your goal. Like you don't want to, there's no award for the person who worked the most hours after school.
Right. Work smarter, not harder. Yeah. And then I want to get you out of here on this. I've never done this with somebody before, so I'm kind of putting you on the spot. Tell me your best, cleanest, not going to get you fired joke that you have in your repertoire. And I'll take.
Clean?
Well, I mean, not like I don't want like horribly dirty. You can cuss, but I don't want like I just
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So this little boy called the no, let me try it again. Let me try it again. One
Yeah,
minute, one
I'll
minute.
put the
Okay.
I'll put the rewind sound effect in right now. Yeah.
I did that. See, not auditory. Okay, so somebody calls the house and the little boy answers the phone, and it's a sales call, and they're like, "Well, hello, how are you?" And he's like, "I'm fine." And they said, "Okay, well, is your mom here?" "Yes." "Can I speak to her?" "No, she's busy." "Okay, is your daddy there?" "Yes." "Can I speak to him?" "No, he's busy." "Is anybody else there?" "The police are here." "They are?" "Yes." "Can I speak to them?" "No, they're busy." "What is going on? What is everybody doing?" "Looking for me."
There you go.
Isn't that cute?
That is cute.
Minor wisdom.